Welcome to World Alert Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The world was jolted by breaking news. Two Chinese warships collided in the South China Sea. This wasn't a simple accident, it was the explosive result of a high-stakes chase. The target? A lone Philippine Coast Guard vessel near the disputed Scarborough Shoal. This was more than a maritime mishap, it was a dangerous escalation in a region already on edge. The BRP Gabriela Silang, on a humanitarian mission, found itself surrounded by Chinese Coast Guard and Navy ships. Tension crackled over the radio as the Filipino crew faced down larger, more aggressive Chinese vessels determined to block their path. For hours, the Philippine ship ran a gauntlet of intimidation, a David versus Goliath struggle in open waters. China's tactics in the South China Sea are well known: water cannons, lasers, and blockades. But this time, the chaos backfired. Two Chinese warships collided, exposing cracks in their aggressive strategy. The incident risked lives from three nations and showed how quickly brinkmanship can spiral out of control. The Philippines' mission was simple: deliver aid to its fishermen. But in these contested waters, every move is a test of sovereignty. President Marcos Jr.'s government has taken a firmer stance, determined to defend national rights under international law. The collision wasn't just about ships, it was about a nation's right to support its people and stand up to a powerful neighbor. The world watched, waiting for the next move. This was a flashpoint with consequences far beyond the horizon. The Scarborough Shoal had become the stage for a new chapter in a long-running conflict. The stakes had never been higher. The Philippines' resolve was being tested in the most dramatic way possible. The world was now watching to see what would happen next. Under the blazing sun, the BRP Gabriela Silang approached Scarborough Shoal, carrying vital supplies for Filipino fishermen. The horizon filled with Chinese Coast Guard and Navy ships, an unmistakable warning. The Chinese vessels began aggressive maneuvers, crisscrossing dangerously close, trying to box in the Philippine ship. The Filipino captain made split-second decisions to avoid disaster, refusing to be intimidated. The Chinese blared warnings, insisting the Philippines was trespassing, but the Gabriela Silang held its course, asserting its right to operate in its own exclusive economic zone. Tension peaked as two Chinese destroyers attempted a pincer move, closing in from both sides. In the chaos, the destroyers miscalculated, scraping violently against each other. The screech of metal echoed across the water, halting the chase. The Chinese ship slowed, crews scrambling to assess the damage. The Philippine vessel slipped through, its crew stunned by the turn of events. The hunters had become victims of their own aggression. The collision was a direct result of China's reckless tactics. It exposed the risks of their gray zone operations, meant to intimidate but prone to spiraling out of control. The incident was undeniable proof of the dangers China is willing to court to enforce its claims. The BRP Gabriela Silang's mission continued, but the message was clear. The South China Sea is a powder keg. One misstep can ignite a crisis. The world had just witnessed how quickly things can go wrong. The stakes in these waters had never been clearer. The BRP Gabriela Silang's mission was humanitarian, delivering food, fuel, and water to Filipino fishermen. For generations, these waters have sustained coastal communities, but China saw the Philippine presence as a direct challenge to its control of Scarborough Shoal. Since 2012, China has used its Coast Guard and maritime militia to keep the Philippines out. When the Gabriela Silang approached, China responded with overwhelming force, deploying warships to intercept a supply run. This was no routine patrol, it was a show of intimidation. Treating a humanitarian mission as a military incursion led directly to the dangerous chase and collision. The core issue: China refuses to recognize the rights of other nations in their own exclusive economic zones, despite international law. The 2016 arbitral tribunal ruling invalidated China's sweeping claims, but Beijing ignores it. In the South China Sea, even a simple aid mission becomes a flashpoint. Every act of support is met with militarized resistance. Tension is the new normal. After the collision, confusion reigned. The two Chinese warships slowed, crews rushing to assess the damage. The BRP Gabriela Silang's cameras captured everything. The Filipino crew, having evaded the blockade, witnessed the fallout. In a remarkable gesture, the Philippine captain offered medical assistance to the damaged Chinese ships, broadcasting the offer openly. The response: silence. China ignored the offer, unwilling to accept help from the very ship they tried to block. For the Philippines, it was a statement of professionalism and humanity. For China, it was an embarrassing moment. The damaged warships limped away, their mission a failure. The Gabriela Silang completed its delivery to the waiting fishermen, a small but significant victory. The incident was documented in detail, providing irrefutable evidence of China's aggression. The offer of aid highlighted the contrast between the two nations' conduct. The world took notice. The narrative had shifted. Beijing quickly spun its own version of events. Chinese officials accused the Philippines of illegal intrusion and reckless maneuvers, painting themselves as the victims. The collision between their own warships was downplayed or ignored. When pressed, Chinese spokespeople deflected, refusing to admit fault. State media amplified this alternate reality, aiming to sow doubt and avoid accountability. But this time, the facts were too clear. The Philippines released video evidence: the chase, the collision, the offer of medical aid. The world saw the truth for itself. The Philippines' transparency was a powerful counter to Chinese disinformation. The international community could judge who was the aggressor. Beijing's narrative collapsed under the weight of undeniable proof. The information war had a clear winner. The truth was out. This incident is just the latest in a long pattern of Chinese aggression in the South China Sea. The Philippines has faced water cannon attacks, dangerous blockades, and even laser harassment. China's goal: prevent the Philippines from resupplying its outposts and fishermen. The Scarborough Shoal standoff in 2012 ended with China seizing control, restricting Filipino access ever since. Sometimes China eases up, then tightens the noose again, using the shoal as leverage. Other countries, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, face similar harassment. China's 9-line claim, rejected by international law, underpins this campaign. The collision of Chinese warships is a new, embarrassing twist in a long story of expansionism. The risks are growing. The region remains on edge. The South China Sea crisis is tied to a bigger geopolitical picture, especially Taiwan. Just weeks before the collision, President Marcos Jr. declared it would be very, very difficult for the Philippines to stay out if China invaded Taiwan. This was a major shift from past ambiguity, framing Taiwan's defense as a Philippine national interest. The Philippines has also deepened its alliance with the US, granting access to new military sites near Taiwan. Beijing sees this as part of an American-led effort to contain China. Marcos's words and actions have raised the stakes, making the Philippines a more direct target for Chinese anger. China now links the Taiwan and South China Sea issues, viewing Philippine assertiveness as a double challenge. The Scarborough Shoal incident was Beijing's way of sending a message. The Philippines' new resolve is being tested on multiple fronts. The risk of escalation is real. The region is more volatile than ever. The world is watching. China's response to President Marcos's Taiwan comments was swift and severe. Harsh statements from Beijing were quickly followed by action at sea. The aggressive chase and collision at Scarborough Shoal came soon after the president's interview, a clear signal. China was punishing the Philippines for its political stance, using maritime coercion as leverage. This linkage of issues is dangerous. Tensions over Taiwan now spill into the South China Sea. China treats the Philippines as a strategic adversary, not just a rival claimant. Maritime incidents are now part of a larger superpower competition. Chinese vessels swarm Philippine-held features. Military aircraft fly closer to Philippine airspace. The collision, while embarrassing for China, shows their willingness to take risks. They're testing the resolve of the Philippines and its allies. China's fury over Taiwan is now weaponized in the South China Sea. The region grows more unpredictable. The stakes keep rising. The Scarborough Shoal incident is just one symptom of the unresolved South China Sea disputes. China's sweeping 9-line claim overlaps with the exclusive economic zones of the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei. The 2016 arbitral tribunal ruled China's claim has no basis in law, but Beijing persists. For the Philippines, Scarborough Shoal and the Spratly Islands are front lines, vital for sovereignty and livelihoods. These disputes are about more than rocks and reefs. They're about the rule of law and freedom of navigation. Over a third of global shipping passes through these waters. If one nation can impose its will here, it sets a dangerous global precedent. The Philippines, backed by the US and other allies, is showing new resolve. China's military presence keeps growing. The recent collision signals a willingness to escalate. The risk of miscalculation is higher than ever. The South China Sea is a geopolitical storm center. The world must pay attention.